Good afternoon, everyone. This is a surprise impromptu, well, kind of a surprise for you all, live stream that I want to do really quickly. And I originally scheduled this for about 5 o'clock because I was trying to wiggle in between a few folks who were going to be going live, and Roaming Prepper just finished his premiere, so I thought I'd go ahead and hop on a little bit early before Ghost Prepper is going on at around, hey Jeep, how are you? Ghost is going on at 6 Central, I believe. So this is going to be relatively short. As it's titled, this is an addendum to the martial law stream that I did on Thursday night, in which Native and Devout jumped up with me and Mr. got on there, and we wound up going for about 2.5 hours about martial law and all kinds of other stuff. But there was something in that stream that I kept thinking about, and I thought about it all the next day, which was yesterday. And I intended to hop on yesterday and kind of address this one thing that someone had asked in the stream on Thursday night. Hey, Klingon Princess, how are you? I was planning to jump on yesterday. We were out running errands and taking care of a few things. And then when we got home, I thought, okay, I'm going to hop on real quick and just do this. And we didn't have service. So by the time we got our service back up last night, it was late and I didn't want to do a late night. So I'm doing it today. And what I wanted to kind of clarify, someone in the chat asked a really good question and I answered it, but I didn't answer it fully and completely. And I don't know that I could still answer it truly fully just because there's so much information on it. What was asked was by someone in chat whose handle was just passing through. And if you're listening to this, then you remember the question that was asked was, during martial law, can your food be confiscated? And my answer on Thursday was, yes, they can. They can try. They'd probably be met with a lot of resistance. And that is true. That is still my answer. But I think I need to expand on that a little bit. And I think it's important for everyone to understand that there's more to that answer. Technically, legally, yes, they can confiscate. They can go door to door and come on in and confiscate food, weapons, pretty much anything and everything, which is a little scary. And, I can understand people will get very upset about that. It's frightening. However, hey, Roaming Prepper, you're fine. I was actually waiting for your live or your premiere to finish before I hopped on. I didn't want it. I'm trying to squeeze in between everyone who already had everything scheduled. But there's a lot more to that answer than just yes, they can. And it is, short and sweet, yes, they can. They can confiscate. They can confiscate a lot of things. During the Clinton administration, there were some anti-hoarding laws and things that come into play with this also. Clinton signed in a whole lot of executive orders. They actually kind of he combined a lot of executive orders that were decades old and kind of consolidated them all. And let's see, I can tell you what the executive order number was, I believe. Here, give me just a second. I've got my windows pulled up. There were several, let's see, it's under Executive Order 12919. And this was in June of 94. Former President Clinton issued that executive order. And it kind of detailed the many ways in which the government can, I'm going to say, strip people of their rights, because I'm not sure if that's under martial law. It's a whole nother ball of wax. Farmer's Son Prepping, sorry guys, Farmer's Son Prepping asked around the same time, early on in the stream on Thursday, or made the statement that we lose all our rights if martial law is declared. That I would disagree with. The only thing that is actually addressed in the Constitution is the suspension of habeas corpus. It does not state that any other right that we have would be suspended. So things get a little convoluted and a little complicated because also there's not really any real definition of martial law. So that's why on Thursday I kept saying over and over, ad nauseum, sorry, that it's a gray area. It's a gray area. There's a lot of gray area because there is. So, but this point here of the confiscating of food and things like that, yes, they can do that, and I think we need to understand it. But also, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to the stream if you get a chance. It does go 2.5 hours, but that last hour or so roughly I think we were talking about other things other than martial law. It was myself, Native and Devout jumped up, Native did, and I had Mr. on as well. And I thought it was pretty good. The first 30 minutes are a little rocky. Bear with me through that. I was consulting notes a lot there. But I just kept thinking about just passing through's question on the confiscation of food. And I did feel like it needed to be expanded on because there's also a debate on whether the Fourth Amendment comes into play. And the Fourth Amendment, if you don't recall, protects us against unlawful search and seizure. And there are a lot of people who say that we're protected under the Fourth Amendment. They cannot come in and search and seize for food. I actually disagree with that. And if you want to disagree with me on that respectfully, absolutely drop it in the chat here. Sorry, I just fell into the chat. You know how I am, guys. Squirrel. I'm having my squirrel moment. Welcome, roaming prepper, to my squirrel moments. Jeep, I hear you. Yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing. That's why I said Thursday. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to it, but on Thursday I said my initial answer was, sorry, I'm going to move my microphone here. So if you hear some noise, I'm adjusting the headset as usual. Let me know if I'm too loud. That's why I said initially my answer was yes. I sound hesitant. That's because, and I was actually trying to plug in a lot of things at the time because I answered the question as I was moving my computer, and because Native was about to hop up, Mr. was about to come in. So, and Mr. doesn't have a microphone, a headset. So, and we were in the same room, so I didn't want us to have feedback on each other. So I was moving my setup to another room and trying to answer the question at the same time. So, and I didn't have my notes in front of me, and I was thinking, okay, I know I'm missing something here, and I was trying to get everything set up quickly and keep everything moving. Hey, Bug Dude, how are you? There's a lot of things they can't do that they do anyway. That's true, Jeep. Yeah, and see, that's the thing. When you get into I started looking through a lot of the executive orders and, just basically all the paperwork that's out there. This is signed and that is signed and this amends this and repeals that and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot. It's a lot of freaking paperwork. And it's so easy to get lost in it, and I think that's a big part of it. And trying to find answers, you get lost in this sea of paper pushing, red tape, whatever you want to call it. So, and whether it's intentional or not, I can't say. But hi there, SKM Keith, how are you? But I did want to go over on the confiscation. So I'm going to let me go back to the Fourth Amendment. And the reason I disagree with that is because I do understand people saying, no, it's an unlawful search and seizure. Yes. However, even under current circumstances, it's not a 100%. The extent to which you're protected by the Fourth Amendment, there are some, it depends. It's not a 100% across the board. Okay. So, and that's why I disagree with Fourth Amendment would protect you in a case of national martial law. And I'm being specific with nationwide martial law declaration by the federal government, by the president or Congress. If you listen to the stream on Thursday, I did let you know that either the president or Congress has the ability to declare martial law. So when it comes to your home, as far as the Fourth Amendment, and I'm going to go ahead and throw out there for the sake of the AI and the platform here, I am not an attorney. I'm not pretending to be an attorney. I'm a person on the internet just like you are. Please do your research. I encourage that on Thursday as well. It's important to have a good understanding, even if it's a basic understanding of what this is and what your state laws are, because your governor can declare martial law at a state level as well, and that's going to be outlined in your state's constitution. So look and see what your state and what your governor has the ability to do. I looked at the laws for Texas, and it was pretty boring, mildly interesting, nothing I didn't really already know or have a grasp on. But check for every state's going to be a little bit different. In Texas, the only thing that stood out for me, and I'm kind of going off on a slight tangent here, off track, excuse me, is that in Texas, because, I think everyone thinks we're the Wild West out here. Maybe we're getting that way. I don't know. As far as Second Amendment rights, as far as our ability to possess firearms, it does say that during times of emergency, they will not confiscate weapons, as long as you are legally able to own or carry them. So if you have something illegal, whatever, but it says as long as you would legally normally be able to have it anyway. They will not confiscate it unless you are being detained for some reason. Something's happened, they're detaining you, which is going to be a standard operating procedure under normal circumstances. They're going to disarm you, talk to you, question you, find out what's going on. Once you're clear, they give you your stuff back and you're on your merry way. Anyhow, coming back to Fourth Amendment. The reason I disagree with it for home searches and seizures inside a home without a warrant are presumed to be unreasonable. However, there are exceptions. A warrantless search may be lawful, and this is the one I'm going to pull out here. Let's see. If there is probable cause to search, probable cause. So that's where that's why I disagree right there, is the probable cause. Under, if it was, let's say martial law was declared tonight, they're knocking on the door tomorrow. Yeah, which is not going to happen. We talked about that as well. I mean, there's just not the manpower to do that. There isn't. But for the sake of this situation, let's say, someone knock on your door and there's some folks there. Yeah, we're here to take a look in your pantry, and we're going to take however much food away that we feel is too much. We'll leave you an amount that is reasonable for this household, which is actual wording for anti-hoarding laws. If it's more than what is a reasonable amount, which then begs the question, who determines what is a reasonable amount, right? So you see the gray areas, right? I'm not looking in the chat right now. I've got another screen up, so I'm going to look in there and see in a second what everyone's saying. But the probable cause, they have probable cause to believe that you've got food in the home. We need to come in and see what you got. And maybe I'm oversimplifying there for folks who maybe work in law enforcement, or if you are an attorney and work in the legal field. I worked in the legal field quite a while back. I was not an attorney. I am not currently an attorney, nor have I ever been. So again, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but that's where I'm getting. As soon as I see probable cause, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, who doesn't have food in the house? There's a reasonable likelihood that you're going to have food in the house. We need to come in and take a look. So let me come back over here to the chat and see what's going on. Exactly, roaming prepper. The opinions given in this video are the opinions of the creator and not legal advice. Please use common sense. Although not as common these days, please try to engage in it. So let's see, let me scroll back up real quick. Not a lot going on. But that's where I wanted to go back in and kind of expand a little bit on the confiscation of food, because it was a really good question. And again, just passing through, if you hear this, if you're lurking and listening now, or if you are listening in replay, that was an excellent question. And I was secretly pleased that someone asked that, because I've never seen anyone ask that before. And I haven't seen anyone ask that in quite a long time. And the fact that you did bring it up pretty quickly makes me think that you probably understand that maybe there's the debate over the Fourth Amendment and whether that would protect in this type of a situation. And some people will still argue that it will. My personal opinion is that it would not, because of that probable cause exemption there for the home. Common sense is not that common. That's true, Jeep. It isn't. I think we all know that. Let's see here. Let me pop this up. Gun law change was made after Katrina, when the police started confiscating guns and then left the neighborhood. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we talked about that a little bit as well. That actually came up. Katrina came up on Thursday night later on, after we kind of got away from martial law a little bit. We were talking about just a lot of other things, and the ability and likelihood of, if something could happen. And one of I brought up Katrina, and I remember saying, hey, goodbye, blue sky, how are you? I remember saying, that there were preppers in New Orleans at the time. And I think we were talking about a lot of things. And I was saying, that came up afterwards. First, we were talking about whether, if there was a national martial law order given, okay, how many military are going to be showing up realistically? How many AWOLs are we about to have? Because how many Joes are about to say, yeah, I'll be right back, wink, wink. Because if something's going down, aren't you going to go to your family? I mean, look at Katrina. Look how many cops abandoned their posts. How many didn't show up? How many couldn't be, you couldn't make contact with them because they're going to take care of their own families. And as Native said, and I agree, rightly so, absolutely. If there was a national, a national martial law, a lot of people like to immediately say martial law for anything and everything. No, please stop. Please stop. Stop and think about it for a moment. And that was part of why I wanted to make the show on Thursday night, was to give everyone a basic understanding, because I thought, a lot of times people don't have that basic understanding. What exactly is it? How big of a damn deal is it to declare martial law? It's a pretty big deal, guys. If you didn't listen Thursday, I led off with this fact. National martial law has only been declared once in our nation, our country. Hey there, Not My Home. Thanks for coming in. It's only been declared once, and that was by Lincoln in 1863 for the Civil War. That's it. And that was the only time that habeas corpus was ever suspended, that one time. So the likelihood of it being declared now nationally, I mean, it makes for great movies and makes for great fiction and exciting books. But when we think of the reality and the possibility of it happening, it's very unlikely, in my opinion. In this creator's opinion, I could be proven wrong in the next day, week, month, year, 10 years, 20 years, and something could happen. And I would have no problem saying, well, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, obviously. But as of right now, I really don't think that that's likely. And again, I'm going to refer back to Thursday because we did spend a couple hours talking about this. And Native from Native and Devout, who was on, I thought he was going to be on last night. Maybe he's going to be on tonight. I haven't seen, but he's going to be doing a live, I believe, this weekend. If you haven't checked out his channel, check him out. Native and Mr. is actually one of my mods, and he's also my husband, former military, and it's a great conversation on their time in service and, the realistic possibilities and likelihood of whether martial law would happen at a national level. Would people show up? I mean, and my argument was, going back to Katrina, look what happened during Katrina. People abandoned their posts. People are going to go and check on their families, going to take care of themselves. That's not absolutely everyone, but it was a lot of people. I mean, hell, the police were looting. I'm laughing, but it was shocking to people. And I say, just because you're wearing a uniform doesn't mean that you are a fine, upstanding citizen. Doesn't mean that you aren't human. Doesn't mean that you aren't going to say, holy crap, I need some supplies too, and we don't have anything. Stuff's going to happen. If it's really that bad, if that was nationwide, that's going to be pretty prevalent. So, but anyway, let me pop back over here. I see a bunch of folks saying hello and hi. So anyway, guys, that was my reason for wanting to hop back on and do just kind of a very quick addendum to that really good question of confiscating. And actually, I think I'll go over and I'll read everything that can be confiscated, because when I say it's pretty much anything and everything, it truly is. Let's see here. If they would declare martial law if they can't get people to lock down again. As many states, and that was actually a question. This reminds me of the question that Native, that's how I saw that he was in the chat. He popped up with an awesome question, was essentially, I don't remember the exact wording, but it was essentially, would the states comply if there was a national declaration? Would states comply? Would states go along with it? Would people go along with it? I don't think so, because a lot of states are pushing back. Texas is one. I would venture to say Florida is probably pushing back as well with DeSantis. South Carolina, I was surprised, jumped up with, the whole door-to-door jab thing, It was the first one to stand up and say, not no, but hell no. So, I think there's starting to be a little pushback from the states, which I'm glad there needs to be, is my opinion. There's the distinct likelihood National Guard units may not. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and we actually, Mr. and I talked about that before I came on. Because I asked him, I said, because something they talked about Thursday was the number of military that the U.S. has total combined. It's not enough manpower to enforce anything. Even if you augment that with police force, it's not enough. You're not going to make every single person. I mean, you're not going to make people behave. You're just not. And I said, well, what about National Guard? This was today. This was not on the stream Thursday. I said, how about National Guard? Did you take that into consideration as well? And Mr. said, yeah, still not going to happen. And I figured probably not, because National Guard, I mean, guys, that's your hometown folks. There's a lot of people who are in the Guard. That's Bubba down the street. That's Ted from the office. That's June from the feed store. That's your hometown folks. That's everyday folks, you know. They're not about to, even if they send them to another area, because that's usually what happens, is you're not likely not going to be deployed or assigned to maybe not even, you know, your own town. If it was something that was state level, if it was national, you would probably be sent out of state, is what I'm guessing, so that you won't feel any kind of a connection, right, to your home state. It'll be a different location. It's still the United States. It's still the American people. It's not like being deployed and going overseas to the sandbox, going to Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever, Bosnia, anywhere. It's not the same thing. These are American citizens. And you can't tell me that there's not going to be a whole hell of a lot of National Guard and federal regular active duty troops that would say, no, not even, and would, to quote my husband, pop smoke, get up and leave. Anyone who understands pop smoke, get up and leave, and abandon post or refuse to comply with that type of an order, right? So, yeah, right, Roman Prepper. A lot of states do have a state guard as well. Now, Texas has state guard, and it's a joke. It is such a joke. So I wouldn't even consider state guard to be any kind of, have any kind of authority for anything, quite frankly. These do not fall under federal rules. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, like I said, Texas has a state guard. I know, because I looked into it several years ago, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Oh, there's Mr. All right. Sharing some links there. UN troops. Oh, well, now see, is there a question attached with that? Not my home? Because I could go off and say a lot of things about UN troops, but let me know what your question or statement is regarding that. Are you saying UN troops coming into the country to try and enforce anything? Because if you want to see something unite everyone real quick in a hurry, I think that would be it. Yeah, exactly, Faustina. Hi, thanks for popping in. I think people are getting a sense of that, Bug Dude. Yes, I do think people are getting a sense of that. And I hate to say, I don't want to say, I'm interested to see how it's going to play out, because this is, you know, we're all watching this, but I can't tell what direction things are going to go, you know. But yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I'm rolling back up here. Okay, so, but yeah, going back to the National Guard may not obey orders. That would be the first ones I would definitely think would say, hell no, F this, and take off. You know, UN going house to house. Oh, good luck with that. Like, as I said, I'll revise my statement from Thursday night for government officials going door to door. They can try. They would probably be met with some resistance, especially in the United States, where we have Second Amendment rights. So I don't think that's likely at all. I really don't. You know, the door-to-door thing has been something that spooked people for a long time. And again, I think it's movies and fiction. It makes for great stories. It makes for exciting stories. I mean, logistically, I mean, think about it. And again, I'm saying go back and listen to Thursday night, and Mr. and Native had great conversations on this. And I didn't really step into that much because I did not serve in the military, so I have no firsthand knowledge. Any knowledge I have of military comes from our friends, from Mr. From other family members that I have who have served and being around it in that capacity, I don't have firsthand. But I think Native pretty much summed it up pretty well. He's like, can you imagine? He says, we know what a big clusterfuck it would be to try and get anything organized, just in general, just to go to the field for any kind of training exercises or to go on any kind of a mission, any kind of training. He's like, trying to organize something on a national scale, good luck. So as far as UN going door to door, no, I don't think so. What I could potentially see, and I did agree with Native on this, would be at more of a local level. And when I say local, I mean maybe state level, possibly city level, although I couldn't really see that happening. I don't know that I could see that happening at a state or local level. But if it did, I think that would probably be slightly better organized just because it's on a smaller scale. And I could not see people going door to door. I mean, that's why I laughed with the whole, I laughed, but it's also concerning, the whole door to door jab thing. Going door to door to try and confiscate or ask for your possessions, I don't see that necessarily happening. What I could potentially envision would be maybe drop-off points, and strong encouragement for citizens to bring in additional foods and drop off things, and maybe, your name get checked off a list somewhere. I don't know. That maybe, and I'm not entirely sure about that, but I would find that possibly more likely. Let's see here. Let me scroll back up. That's exactly it, Ghetto Prepper. And thanks for dropping in. Too many doors and not enough knockers. That's exactly it. Offer citizenship to foreign troops. No, I don't think so. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound mocking there, but no, I don't believe that at all. Not even a little bit. Let me scroll back up. Hey, Cinnamon Girl. Lucky sandwich. Let's see. Control the food, control the people. Well, and that's right. And that would be a completely different, not a wildly different conversation, but it would be different. I'm going to try and keep this stream kind of short because, like I said, Ghost is going on in about an hour. And I didn't intend for this to be a very long stream. It was mostly to address the question that Just Passing Through had asked, which was a really good question. And I thought about it as soon as I got off that night. It wasn't immediately, but within probably about 15, 20 minutes, I thought, oh man, I didn't answer that as well as I probably could have or should have. We got off on other topics, and it was a great stream. I thought it was really good, a lot of good conversation. But I did want to go back and address that separately because of the whole Fourth Amendment issue, and there's always been a lot of debate on that. And I thought I would explain why that I disagree with it and why I disagree that Fourth Amendment would protect us. Are our rights suspended during a time of martial law? I have not found anything to suggest that. In fact, the Constitution only says habeas corpus, although the Constitution also doesn't say anything at all about martial law. It doesn't address it, doesn't define it. The words don't appear in the Constitution. So that's why I kept saying it's a big gray area, because it's not something that's really defined. My best guess, my personal best guess, is we don't lose the rights because there's only been one right addressed in the Constitution that we could, I don't want to say lose, but it would be temporarily suspended, and that is habeas corpus. And that's only happened once so far in our history, right? Let me scroll back down here and see what's going on in chat. Yeah, that is something I'm keeping an eye on. I think I know there's a lot of us keeping an eye on that. I think that would be something that would be, I don't know if it'd be easier for them to implement that. Maybe. I don't know how many people are going to comply with it. How many people working at stores are going to comply with it? I mean, think about that too. It goes both ways. Let's see here. Let me scroll down a little more. Yeah, that's true. Humanitarian efforts are only as good as, let's see, are only as good as what they have at home. Yeah, I don't think, I mean, considering the U.S. is we're one of the big humanitarian, or we render a lot of humanitarian aid to a lot of other countries. And I have to wonder, would other countries come to render aid? You know? So, all right. So I'm actually going to come over here and read some of these executive orders. And this is, like I said, what Clinton issued Executive Order 12919, and it details different ways that what the government can do during a time of emergency, national emergency. It's a consolidation of a lot of previous executive orders that go back decades before he ever got in office. So he did not sign, he didn't create all of these. A lot of this was in play before he came along. So the 12919 executive order kind of consolidated everything, and it did add a little bit. I don't have on here which, let's see, I think probably the stuff about FEMA here at the bottom. But I'm going to go down, and there's a lot of different, I've got all the executive orders here. I'm not going to read them all off. I'm just going to read down what feds can seize. Okay, and this is supposed to be during a time of national emergency, during a time of martial law. Okay, seizure of all communications media in the U.S., all electric power, fuels, minerals, public and private, seizure of all food supplies and resources, public and private, and all farms and equipment. Government officials could enter your home and confiscate your food supplies. And that is Executive Order 10998, since that one in particular says specifically they can come in. So that would get rid of the Fourth Amendment right there. Federal seizure of all means of transportation, including cars, trucks, vehicles of any kind, and total control over highways, seaports, and waterways. Seizure of American people for workforces under federal supervision, including the splitting up of families if the government so desires. Now, right there, we did discuss internment camps briefly, or I touched on that in the previous stream, so if you want to go back and listen to that. Don't let that one freak you out a whole lot, but it's there, you know. And the internment camps, families were split up, and they did work the land, you know, so... Let's see, federal seizure of all health, education, and welfare facilities, both public and private. Executive Order 11002 empowers the Postmaster General to register every single person in the U.S. Now, that's all that says. I'm going to assume that it means register every single person for the draft, is what I'm interpreting that to mean. I haven't looked that one up specifically, but I did see recently in the news that something's been introduced, I think at the Senate, I believe it was the Senate, for women to be able to register for draft. I think that's pretty big. Okay. Federal seizure of all airports and aircraft, all housing and finances, and authority to establish forced relocation, authority to designate areas to be abandoned as unsafe, establish new locations for populations, relocate communities, build new housing with public funds. Seizure of all railroads, inland waterways, and storage facilities, both public and private. And then the last one here, Executive Order 11051 provides FEMA complete authorization to put above orders into effect in times of increased international tension, of economic or financial crisis. And that's what I've got, guys. So when I said pretty much anything and everything, it's pretty much anything and everything. Hey, Farmer's Son, how are you? So yeah. That's it. We're from the government. We're here to help. We'll be needing all your food, guns, ammo, and water. Well, you know, yeah. A lot of these, I'm going to assume, I'm making a lot of assumptions here. And we know what happens when you assume. But, you know, some of the stuff I have to think probably came out of World War II, you know, when we saw like the internment camps and things like that along the West Coast, which if you didn't hear on Thursday night, I did say that was regional martial law. States can declare martial law individually. And so the West Coast, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, it was actually a couple months later. Pearl Harbor happened, of course, in December of 41. I believe it was February of 42 is when the West Coast, California, Oregon, and I believe Washington State as well, declared martial law in the state, and they set up internment camps for people who were Japanese and of Japanese descent, and they were held in the internment camps. And I found out from Virginia Roots, she was in the chat, she's of Japanese descent, and she said that people were held for, I believe she said 2 years in the camps. So, you know, just a little history there for you folks. So I think that's pretty much kind of all what I've got there. You're having a corgi riot. Dude. Oh, man. So I think that's probably pretty much what I've got as far as martial law. Sorry, I'm just looking over here. Yeah, well, and see, that's the thing. That is actually, that's why I'm telling people, I want you all to go and look at your state. Look at this. Well, you're here in Texas, Roaming Prepper. Look up Google or whatever browser you use. Look up search engine martial law Texas and see what you find. Because I did that, and it does say in there, after I kind of was skimming through a lot of it, it talks about employing people to volunteer and assist. So that is in there. So yeah, you know, and you know, and there's probably some of you, if you may have read some stories, fiction stories and things like that, where maybe in some of these stories where they talk about getting volunteers to help out, and maybe those volunteers get a little extra ration or get some kind of a perk. I should say that. Maybe they get a perk of some sort for helping out, and that as a motivator, right? And as some kind of a payment, something to encourage people to volunteer and to get on board with whatever the program is. I could see that, you know, but I think we also have to keep in mind as well, before we kind of romanticize and run down the path of a lot of these fiction stories, step back, let's take a deep breath and think for a moment, what is the real likelihood of this happening? Could, I mean, truly, could it really happen logistically? Is there manpower, or are there people that would go along with this? You know, and as I'm saying this, I'm also thinking, I also never thought that we'd be where we are right now, quite honestly. And I talked about that Thursday night as well. I never thought we would be where we are right now with this, with possible mandated jabs and apps to track us and paperwork possibly need to be shown, things like that, things that we're seeing in other countries. I do think it's a matter of time before we see it here. And I think your guess is probably as good as mine as to whether people are going to comply or not on the whole. So, but hey, Dusty, how are you? Yeah, I know what snitches get. I think everyone's heard that before. Yeah, but yeah, you know, there's always going to be that. I mean, now look at some neighborhoods. People who have, if anyone here is part of an HOA, you know you've got some there. If you're part of a homeowners association, there's people that have nothing better to do than to make themselves the self-appointed HOA snitch and police everyone else in your home. So, you know, Red Cross, FEMA, and other volunteers had a lot more mobility during Harvey purely due to keep the word. Yeah. Yeah, it would. Martial law would be a very high bar to meet. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I really don't think it's likely. And something I said Thursday was, if martial law has been declared, think about just how bad things have gotten or are about to be that is being declared. How badly have we deteriorated to that point? Because I think that's, in my mind, at least, that's the point that it would have to be for them to declare that, for it to be a national, right? So at a national level. Yeah, and it's funny you say that. I actually volunteered with, I was with Red Cross at the time. I had volunteered to go and help with Harvey because I still had my EMT license at the time, and it has since expired. But I had it at the time, and I volunteered, and they were trying to get everyone processed so quickly. And by the time they finally got me processed through, Harvey was pretty much over. And then the one that came after that, I think, was that Irma, the one that hit Puerto Rico? I think it was Irma. The next one that came along and hit just a few weeks later and hit Puerto Rico and did so much damage. And they asked to send me there. And I said, first they asked if I spoke Spanish, and I don't. I'm not fluent. I can understand a little, but I'm really not to try and have any kind of a conversation with anyone or even ask basic questions like what would have needed to be done in that kind of situation. And they were so desperate for people at the time because nobody would go. They said, that's fine, you can go. I said, well, how long would it be for? 3 weeks. I said, I'm so sorry, I can't do that. I cannot leave my place, my employer, for that long. I could have gotten a week for Harvey to go down and help with that, but I was not about to go to Puerto Rico, and the conditions that we were aware of at the time in Puerto Rico, were pretty rough, and the crime was up pretty high at the time as well. So, hey, Be Charming, how are you? Welcome. No hablas español. Well, I lived in South Central Texas for a little while. And I picked up when I've talked about this before, I lived in San Antonio for many years before I moved away from there after I got married. And I definitely did not know anything coming into Texas, and then living in San Antonio for several years. I eventually picked up some, but it's very different. It's very different. It's a lot of slang, a lot of slang. Is that the extent of your Espanol, Jeep, tacos? That's an important word. I do like some tacos. I do like some good food, that's for sure. And there's a lot of good food in South Texas. But let's see here. Let me check in the chat and see if there's anything going on. If not, like I said, I'm going to try and keep it relatively short here. Black Summer, that's a good show, man. If you haven't seen Black Summer, guys, and you're into zombie stuff, you need to watch it. It's on Netflix. Season 2 is out, and I need more. I finished season 2, and it just left me. I need more. I need more. Complete collapse of local and regional efforts. Yeah, I agree. Let's see. We go back up. Five Virgins Prepper, how are you doing? Welcome. I see a lot of folks have jumped in here. Maybe I need to start doing my streams in the afternoon instead of in the evening. I feel a little more coherent. By the end of the day, in the evenings, I'm kind of stuttering around and trying to remember what I'm talking about. I feel a little more focused. Days are usually kind of long. Let's see here. Let me scroll back down. Biblioteca. I do not know. Yeah, it's not Spanish. It's Tex-Mex, very much, yeah. Oh yeah, well that's going to be very different. The dialects are going to be different. Yeah, it's going to be different everywhere. Well, and what's funny in San Antonio is even the Spanish spoken, what is spoken throughout most of the area, and I'm going from what I was told many times by several different people when I lived there. It's different. And if anyone here's from San Antonio and you can confirm or deny this, like I said, I had to trust what people were telling me when I lived there. I get more folks if you have Stuart, I see you, stop it. The Spanish spoken on the west side of the city, on west side, is very different. I've been told that is a lot of slang, and if you aren't from west side, you're not going to understand what's being said, that it's that different. So in fact, I had several people in one place that I worked who said they really didn't. They were very fluent, and they said they didn't understand. They didn't understand it all. It was almost like its own language entirely, which I thought was really interesting. But I find languages interesting in general. So, what bathroom in Spanish is baño? I do know that. I can order a beer and ask for the bathroom, and I could probably order some tacos too. But I mean, what more do you need, right? Wrong. Necesito un vaso de rum. Stuart, welcome. Okay, guys. Más cerveza fría, por favor. Okay. Now we're ordering up drinks in my chat. You see how we've gone from martial law to ordering up tasty adult beverages in another language. What'd you say there? Wait, this is scrolling up too quickly. East side, I-20 westbound side, don't blink. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm just going to click off of that. I feel you'd be charming. I know a smattering of phrases and words in a few different languages. I've always felt that if you can at least say please and thank you and I'm sorry I don't speak insert language here, people will be really kind to you as long as you're going to say if you make an effort. And I'm going off on a completely different subject. Thanks, guys. Squirrel. Hey, Pilgrim, how are you? I always felt like if you could at least say please, thank you, excuse me, the polite things, right? And then at least make an effort. People who speak language and if they can speak English and talk to you in English, if you're making an effort, people will meet you halfway, or they'll say it's okay. If they understand that you're trying, you're at least trying. That goes a long way. So keep that in mind, folks. Let's see. I agree. I agree. It depends on where in Georgia, but that could be north, south. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. I have family in Georgia, so yeah, I feel that. Wait, this is scrolling pretty quick. What's going on here? I saw something about tequila. When martial law happens, I'm going to need tequila. Yeah, you better drink it before they come and get it. But let's see here. Oh, barbecue from a place in Dallas. You know what? And I'm going to say this, and all the Texans, I don't like Texas barbecue. I don't. I like vinegar-based barbecue, which probably a whole lot of people just gagged right now, but that's what I like, the vinegar-based stuff. I had to get used to Texas barbecue. It's very sweet, and I don't like that. It's very sweet. And Texans are serious about their barbecue. They are really serious about it. So I prefer a vinegar base. I like a lot of it okay now. Some of it is still too sweet for me, but I've gotten used to it since I've been here long enough. But I do prefer the vinegar base. I also like a dry rub. I like Kansas City barbecue. A lot of it is usually a lot of dry rub, and I like that. When I do barbecue here at the house, I tend to do a dry rub on stuff. But anyway, what is that? Are those dogs or seals? You meant to be squirrels. I still can't find the squirrel emoji. I go squirrel. I can spell squirrel, but I can't find the emoji. Texas barbecue needs no sauce. See, yeah, I guess I can agree with that. Oh, they were dinosaurs? Is that what that was? Okay, be charming. It was something. I can't tell on this end. Through StreamYard, it's little emoji blobs, so I can't really tell. All right, guys. Well, does anyone have any comments or statements about martial law and the confiscation of property? Any thoughts on Fourth Amendment and whether you think it would apply or not? I mean, especially in light of the Executive Order 10998, where it says government officials could enter your home and confiscate your food supplies. And then and I didn't even pull up the whole anti-hoarding thing. Let me see. I think I've got that. I may have that another screen here. But under the anti-hoarding laws, it's the wording is, if you have more for your household than what is reasonable. And that's not the exact wording. I'm kind of paraphrasing it there, but that wording is there. The reasonable, well, who decides what's reasonable? If anyone even made it into your house to begin with, to say, oh, here, let me take your box of spaghetti and I'll take these 2 jars of sauce. And I see you have 6 cans of tuna. There are 4 people that live here, so I will leave you 2 cans. You can each have a quarter of a can apiece or half a can apiece. Who determines what's reasonable? So let's see. I'm trying to find some more on the anti-hoarding laws. I thought I had pulled up a screen here for it, but I don't think I have it. It's just referencing Executive Order 10998 that permits federal government or government officials there's the thing, they're government officials to seize hoarded food supplies from both public and private holders. Now, I would think that it would make much more sense to hit up businesses before knocking on the doors or asking the general public encouraging the general public to participate or to provide something from their private or their personal pantry. I would think hitting up, restaurant businesses, warehouses, restaurant supply, things like that, food supply places would probably be what would happen before ever knocking on an individual's door and saying, excuse me, roaming prepper, or excuse me, Jeep, or Bug, or anyone else, or Klingon Princess, we would like to come in, or we're going to come in and take a look at your pantry. You need to donate some excess goods for people less fortunate. So exactly, Bug. Who decides what's reasonable? That's what I'm saying. You don't think you have enough and your kids have way too much. Well, and if you have kids, they don't realize how much they're eating. So I would say if you have kids, maybe you should get an exemption because they're hollow from the neck down. When a real shift happens, there's no law or amendment that's going to save you. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Well, and that's kind of was part of my point Thursday night in the stream talking about Katrina. I said, look what happened in Katrina. That all went out the window real fast. I think that was shocking to a lot of people. Before Katrina happened, I had an opportunity, and I almost took it. I was living in Georgia at the time, and I had an opportunity with my employer to transfer to New Orleans and work at the office, the location there in New Orleans. And because of a lot of things that were going on in my life at the time, I almost took that opportunity. I came very, very, very close. And then I decided not to for some reasons. I chose not to do that. If I had, all I could think when that happened was, holy shit, I would have been there. And then I thought, hell no, I would have evacuated right out. But yeah, things got real pear-shaped real quick there, especially since they didn't get any kind of relief for, how long was it? 5 days, 7 days? How is it the media was able to get in there with no problem? But, Channel 5 can go in there and interview people. And, the poor journalists or the people interviewing folks who had nothing and were melting in the hot sun without even a bottle of water to drink. The news people were able to get in, but the government couldn't get in. FEMA couldn't get in there. I've got a lot of thoughts on that too, but yeah, laws are not going to save you. Nobody's going to say, oh, wait, this has all gone sideways. We've got a soup sandwich on our hands, but what does the law say we should do right now? Walmarts were looted by private citizens and the police. So, yeah. Yeah, they did, Farmer Son. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. They did. Well, they tried to for some folks, and I brought up, I'm going to see if I can go back and find this footage anywhere. If it's somewhere out there on the interwebs, I want to find this. I don't know that I can. There's a lot of stuff that's been buried since Katrina. Have you ever noticed after any kind of a big event, a lot of stuff that you see in the moments after it happens, you never see that footage again. It is buried. They were going door to door in New Orleans in one area, and they went and they were, evacuating. Well, some people wouldn't evacuate. They wouldn't leave. The houses were in bad shape. They were flooded. It was dangerous. You could hear gunshots. It was getting worse and worse. So I saw footage where it was, I can't remember if it was military or if it was police. I don't remember exactly, but they're going and clearing houses. They go and knock at this house, and they knock. Finally, guy comes and cracks the door. And they say, hey, you got to evacuate. He says, no, I don't. And they were taken aback by it because everyone had been compliant and, and saying, well, but I don't want to. This guy just says, no, I don't. And they said, yeah, you got to go. It's not safe. He goes, we're fine. Okay, so long story short, in the end, guy shut the door in their face. He's like, we're not leaving. And shut the door on them. And they just kind of stood on the porch and they weren't really sure what to do. So they left the guy. They were trying to, they were doing the spiel of, it's not safe. He's like, no, we're good. Come to find out, they were preppers. They had a generator, they had clean water, they had food. They had set up on their second floor, they had firearms, and they were protecting their home while all kinds of nonsense run amok in the streets at night. People were looting houses, if you remember that. So they chose to stay. And they were told, before, when they shut the door on, they said, well, we can't protect you. And they're like, we're fine, don't worry about it. So it was kind of interesting. It was funny. I remember laughing at the time. And I think my dog's about to bark. She just took off for the door. Maybe not. Okay. So I wanted to warn you in case you suddenly heard barking. Oh, maybe it's delivery. Okay. But yeah, it was really interesting at the time to see that. And I keep wanting to, I don't know if I could find that footage anywhere or not. But yeah, that's true. Laws aren't going to do anything. All right, let's see. Let me scroll back up. Then I've run my mouth a little bit here. Oh, it is a delivery. What do we have? Coffee? Surprise, surprise. If y'all don't have coffee and you drink it, get your coffee. It'll keep in the freezer. Grounds will keep in the freezer for a little while. It'll keep it longer. I'm a big proponent of freeze dry. I don't drink coffee anymore myself, but it tastes a lot better in my opinion than instant. Regular old instant, I said this Thursday, is made instant by a chemical process. Freeze dry will last much longer on the shelf, and even longer if you put it in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber. So anyway, let's see here. Let me scroll down. A flood a few years ago where they went door to door for the people evacuated into. Yeah. Won't be taking mine. And I say that, and then I think maybe it's easy to say that, and you think they won't ever take yours, or they won't ever take ours, but let's see here. Prepping here is New Orleans, showing how it's done. Yeah. Our dog is all in the coffee. Mister's taken out of the package. You can probably hear the crinkling there in the background. She's all about sniffing the coffee. Sorry, I was trying to see what's going on over here. All right. So check in chat. Okay. All right, guys. Well, that's about all I've got here. I'm not going to go too much longer. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, I believe. That was pretty much the whole reason why I hopped on. Like I said, trying to kind of squeeze in between a lot of folks who are going live. And I know Ghost Prepper's going live in about half an hour, I believe, about 30 minutes. And I think he's got Pinball on with him tonight. And then after that, Pinball will be on later this evening. In case you didn't know, Pinball, I saw this morning, actually first thing, well, after it had happened, he put his video out. Pinball did get another strike on his main channel. So now he's got 2 strikes on the main channel. He's in timeout for 2 weeks on his main channel. On his backup channel, he's already gotten 1 warning. So he does have a 3rd channel now. So go check out Pinball Prepping. That's his backup, and he has links to the backup. And he's got some videos put out there on what he's doing and what's going on and how he's going to handle everything. Because like I said, he's got 2 strikes now on the main channel. He's got a warning on the backup, and all kinds of good times there. So, but he is still going to be going live tonight, doing his regular Saturday Night Live. It'll just be on the backup channel. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for popping in. I appreciate it. Yeah, Revenge of Pinball. That's what he's calling the backup to the backup. He's got a link to it. So if you hop over there, you can see it. But I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. It's getting close to an hour. I'd hope to maybe make it 30 minutes, but you know how I am. Start talking. I'm glad you came in. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, impromptu stream. If you did, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. It does help with the algorithm. That's why a lot of content creators are always saying, hey, please give me a thumbs up. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, because all those things play into the algorithm and kind of help keep us out there so that, we don't disappear into the mists of the platform, right? Oop. Thanks, Be Charming. Sorry, just scrolled up on me here and I saw it. All right, guys, you have a great evening. Enjoy all the streams this evening. There's going to be a lot of folks going live. I know Hutch Homestead's going on tonight as well. I'm going to be sure and catch him. I think he's going on at 7 Central, But Hutch Homestead, Ghost is going on a little while. Pinball will be on later. I think North Shore is going on after Pinball as usual. So Saturday night, you'll have fun. Enjoy your evening. Have something great to eat for dinner. Hope something really good. And I'll be on for the usual Sunday afternoon socializing live tomorrow at 3 Eastern, 3 Central, 4 Eastern. Getting tongue-tied. And I will see you guys later. Have a great evening. Stay safe. Stay sweet.